So what are these negativity anchors? In order for you to better understand how to deal with negativity anchors and how to get rid of them, first we have to determine what they actually are. So in this video, I will explain to you how to get rid of those pesky negativity anchors that I've spoken about in an earlier video. So how can you determine that your environment holds you back and how do you rise above it? In order to do so, we must basically identify those negativity anchors. So negativity anchors are a force in your environment that keeps you stuck. So these could be people with limiting beliefs, negative family patterns, friends without ambition, and of course the environment that normalizes mediocrity. So people with limiting belief are basically people that are all around you and they can come into your life and they can leave your life. So basically you are in charge of your life and you can determine which ones are the people that you need to get rid of. Now these people are basically all around you. They could be family members, they could be your friends, they could also be colleagues at work, and these people are basically holding you down. They are an anchor of negativity. They keep you stuck in the environment that you are currently living. Now there's also negative family patterns. These negative family patterns occur throughout history. Otherwise, you would be wealthy by now and well off, because if we would determine that all the previous generations that came before you, all those family members that basically procreated and gave you a life should have accumulated wealth, and that wealth should have ended up in your lap, but it didn't. And the reason for this is quite simply because the environment is holding them back. That is the fourth point. So our society has basically built in such a way that the government determines what we should be. That's why we go to school, to high school, university, and maybe go for a PhD. But there's no bigger step than that, because that's what the government determines is the ultimate step to take. After this, there are no other steps. But the government, in the end, determines what its residents are supposed to be capable of doing in order to be productive members of society. But if you want to rise above the mediocrity that is all around us, we need to basically take it a step further. And that is not something that the government can determine for you. So you need to get out of the system and basically live above the system and use the system to your ends. Now, the friends without ambition, we all have them. We have all seen them all around us when you went to school. These are the people that you think are helpful because you get along so well, but in the end, they are just entertainment. You could be going out with these people, having drinks together, and that's all great and good if you want to socialize. But in the end, if you do that all the time, your environment is basically always the same. It is never changing, and you know exactly where you will end up because everybody around you ended up in the same way. So there's no difference between what they will accomplish and what will you accomplish. There might be minor differences, but they are not big enough to make them noticeable for you to become something bigger than you are currently or to become more than the path you are currently on. Now, let's look at how negativity anchors work. So, constant exposure shapes your mindset, meaning that whatever you consume on a daily basis is basically how your mind functions. Everything that is in the media and that you are watching or consuming is basically what you are. You cannot be anything different from what you are if you do not realize that the consumer end of the society basically determines who you are and what you will become. Now, low expectations become your ceiling. So the expectations are quite low. They are at a minimum helping you to determine what you will become in life. So if you go, for instance, only to primary school, you can only expect a certain job that is adjusted to the level of a mind that has passed only the exams for primary levels. If you want to go higher up and go to university, that's all great and good, but most people actually stop there. There's no higher level. But the energy is drained instead of built. Basically, you are working at some point non-stop and there's no additional energy to do anything else but basically socialize and go occasionally on holiday. There is no difference between the energy that you put in on a daily basis and the little part that you have left. On the other hand, if you get rid of that negativity anchor, you will have more free time and more time for yourself and the things that you actually love to do or building up meaningful experiences than you would have if you would just stick to the system. So growth feels unnatural or wrong. That's normal because we were not meant to do that. The government basically tells us how we are supposed to grow and where we are supposed to stop. There is no higher level in terms of education and alternatively what you will become in the future in terms of jobs. And if you are in a job, the increments of wealth that you can accumulate are quite limited. You cannot go in high performing steps. So you cannot make big leaps and jumps further up the ladder because the system was designed to keep you at a certain level and make you go up the ladder just incrementally, not going in big bounds and leaps. That's not what the system is designed for. The cost of staying anchored are obvious. There's missed opportunities, meaning that you could have become something more, but you didn't because you never took the step to basically see those opportunities come to fruition. The same goes for the dictated progress. So the government and society has systems in place that dictate how much progress are you allowed to get. You will not make big jumps. They will not come as fast and as steadily as you want them to come, and that's the entire purpose of the system. It's meant to keep you in a certain package. That's what you are. You are not special. You will not grow out of this package. You will just become another functioning member of society. And so the dictated progress means that the government basically tells you what you are, what you can become, and how your life will progress until you are no longer useful and can go into retirement. So that, of course, will reduce your confidence, because how can you be confident about your life and about those cool things that you can do if you already know exactly what will happen next? So let's say that you start your career and it's going pretty well. You think that you're growing, but in the end, it is all just in small increments. It does not go fast. It will not create wealth. It is all meant to keep you in a structured package and basically deliver you as a producer to society. And of course, living below your potential is the entire result of this, because you all have potential. The moment that you are born, you have the potential to become everything. We will get into that even more because there's always surroundings. So there's something that is very detrimental to our potential. We'll get into it. But we all have the potential to basically become anything and anyone that we see out there. There is no realistic difference between us and a high performer. There's no realistic difference between you, the king and the queen, or the ultra wealthy. You have the potential in you. You just need to choose to accumulate that wealth. And in order to do so, we will apply these key factors. So these are the key factors to elevation. Elevation is basically your ability to rise above your current level. And we all have the capability to do it. It creates this way of living where you can basically understand how to function and how to get to those next levels faster. So it is created by intentional choices in speed, shape, angle, and density. I will explain them further, but for now, just understand that you only need to take 4 steps in order to move on to the next level. So let's handle the first one, that is speed, momentum. So everything starts slow. When you start out on this journey, it will be slow. It's like a plane taking off. First, it's at a standstill on the runway. Then it gains speed, and all of a sudden, it has enough momentum to lift up into the air, and at some point, it will be cruising, and that's where I ultimately want to get you. But the speed is basically the determining factor of your success. But it always starts slow. So you need to build consistency. That consistency means that you are continuously doing the same effort towards a goal. That objective is something that you must attain, and it will change over time. But the more you apply yourself, the higher the speed. So increase output over time. Don't expect to become already that high performer after 2 weeks. That's just not realistic. All starts are slow. And of course, the momentum creates liftoff. So at some point, there will be a moment where you feel like something is finally moving in the right direction, and that is called the momentum. And you have finally attained the right speed to get there, but you're not there yet. You still have to gain altitude and then start cruising. And cruising is where I'm currently at. That's why I'm making these videos, because I want to help you get there as well. Next is shape. So this is all about your structure. It comes down to knowledge, sobriety, clarity, physical fitness, and experience. So your structure determines how well you convert effort into progress. Now let me explain these 4 principles. So first up is knowledge. Most people go to school and perhaps attain the level of university and come out as a master or a bachelor, or perhaps they even manage to get a PhD. But after which, most of them never go and learn anything else. They don't go to the library, they don't read books anymore. Most people don't read more than 1 book a year. I read at least 50 books a year. It's pretty simple. You just go to the library, you get a pass, and you get knowledge for free, and you can get any subject you like. I've read literally hundreds of books on different subjects, and that makes me extremely knowledgeable about society. But I have one expertise, that is real estate. That is what I do. But I want to understand more than just real estate. I want to understand most of it to succeed. So I've read books about HR, accounting, finances, the oil crisis, and so on. Everything I can get my hands off, I want to read. Because at some point that knowledge will determine that you want to basically exude that knowledge. You want to apply it, because why just read and not work with that knowledge? That knowledge is useful to you. And this means that at some point you will have clarity. And sobriety means that you will not induce substances into your system that makes your progress go even slower. Why have a drink every evening and then wake up tired the next morning, when at the same time you could be sober, clear-minded, and know exactly the path that you want to take on a daily basis? You need to be able to think clearly and apply the knowledge that you have. And that brings us to the next one, physical fitness. You do not need to be a high-performance athlete. That's not what I'm asking here. Nobody actually makes a lot of money being an athlete. Only the very top % of athletes make money, and in most cases they don't make enough to make a living after their career has ended in athleticism. So you need to just be physically fit. You just need to have a body that is able to basically produce the knowledge and make it happen in terms of success and wealth on your path. A fat body, a body that is not capable of moving around and making things happen, will not make it happen. It's as clear as day when you hear it like this. And next up comes experience. So after you've done all this, and you accumulated that knowledge, you are applying it into the world, you are very aware of what is going on, you are lucid, there's nothing obstructing you, and you have a physical fitness, meaning that your brain is oxygenated all the time. That is the moment where experience starts to kick in. You are starting to interact with the world in a sense that is no longer just derived from books. It is knowledge that you have applied. You go to trial and error, and you basically know exactly what to do. That is experience, which comes only in time. Again, you start slow and you gain experience. The older you get, the more experience you have. The more experience you have, the better the flight path becomes, the more elevation you attain, the easier it becomes to cruise. That experience will not go away. For instance, in my business, we went door knocking. Most people hate door knocking. I hated door knocking. Now I love door knocking because door knocking basically built my business. If anything will fail in my business, I know that I can go out there, knock on doors, and sell any product or service and make it happen again. It's not gone. That experience lives in me forever. Now I will continue to step 3 and 4, but before we do so, if you really enjoy this material, then please join the movement and just subscribe. Now the third factor is the angle, it's the direction, it's the path that you're taking. In most cases, the path is set for you. You know exactly where you're gonna go. But here we will start to form our own strategy. What is the angle of attack that I will apply to make it happen? In order to do so, I need to have a coherent plan. Now that plan at first is full of holes. It will probably not work, but this is trial and error. It's how you build up experience. And that plan will change over time. It will become something more concrete, something that is basically elevating you more and more, because the plan, as you change it, will get more and more refined until you finally get to the point where you know that this plan can no longer fail. And of course, you need to have the willingness to grow. If you don't want to do it, if you don't want to strategize, if you don't want to plan, then all of it will fail. So it is all up to you to determine what is the angle, what is the direction that I'm taking here. And of course, if you do too little, there is no progress. If the plan is too vague, too wide, it will not happen and you will do too little. If it is too much, it is unstable. That is just how it works. If you do too much of the work and it's not going to work for you because the plan has holes in it, then you need to find a new strategy, determine your new plan, and work from there. Now, the density is your environment, and the environment determines exactly what you can and cannot do. In certain countries, you cannot make it happen with what you have with you. You will not be able to succeed. For instance, in certain countries, the market is not strong. Economically speaking, you do not have the opportunities to make it happen. In other countries, you are basically exposed to the wrong network. You are not living in the right community with the right people around you to elevate yourself to the next step. And of course, at some point, you need to get the right niche, meaning that, for instance, I, in real estate, have found my own niche. It's pure sales and, of course, developing. So these two niches is all that I need. I don't need to do property management. I don't need to do real estate investing through rights. All I want to do is do sales, be interactive with other humans and basically convince them to buy, sell, or develop something. Now that is my niche, but your niche could be completely different. In the end, it all comes down to finding that niche, because you can only be an expert in one certain part of your domain. You cannot be an expert in all of it. You should have knowledge about most of it, but not be an expert in all of it, because then you are knowledgeable about everything and nothing. So the right environment basically multiplies your effort. If you are not in the right environment, move out of it. If you are living in a country that is so authoritarian that you cannot develop, you need to get out. You need to move out of it immediately. If you are living in a small village and you need to move to the city to make it happen, then do that. Don't hesitate. There's nothing there that will change your path to success. If you are looking at the people around you or the parents that you are currently exposed to on a daily basis, then you can basically determine exactly where your path will lead. You know it, you see it, and you will just follow that same path with maybe some minor tweaks and changes, but that's it. So if you want to make it happen, you need to move out of that niche world that you're living in and find yourself a new niche world that you can excel in. So let's round it up here. So from anchors to elevation. The first part, of course, is to remove all the negative influences and then replace them with knowledge. Then go and find growth-oriented people just like yourselves. You can find them here with me, or you can find them out there in the world. You just need to get out there and make new acquaintances. And of course, then comes your strategic positioning, because it's not only about making new friends left and right, great and good, but you also need to be able to influence them and that they basically can work with you towards that goal that you are so hard working towards. So the strategic positioning is basically the last step in this path. Now I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't hesitate to subscribe and get more of these videos.